It started with a glance, one of those moments that seem ordinary but change everything. On a quiet, rain-soaked evening in Mumbai, where the city rushes but time sometimes pauses for love, Ayan saw Meher for the first time. She was standing by a roadside tea stall, holding her sketchbook close, lost in her thoughts while the world around her blurred in the drizzle. Ayan, a struggling musician, drenched and tired from another failed gig, felt something shift inside him. Not love at first sight, no, it was something deeper, like a forgotten melody that suddenly played again in his heart. They were from two very different worlds. Meher, an architecture student, practical, disciplined, and fiercely independent. Ayan, a dreamer, a mess of passion and chaos, always chasing sounds that no one else could hear. They shouldn't have fit together, but something about their broken edges made them match. Their first real conversation happened over cutting chai and shared silences. No grand declarations, no instant sparks, just comfort, just a feeling that this person might be able to understand you in a way no one else ever has. Days turned into weeks. They walked the narrow lanes of Colaba, visited bookshops that smelled of old pages, and found joy in simple things like scribbling in each other's notebooks, listening to the city breathe at night, or playing old Hindi songs on Ayan's worn-out guitar. Meher started sketching Ayan when he wasn't looking. Ayan wrote songs that sounded a lot like her. Their world was small, but to them, it was enough. But love, as we know, is rarely simple. And in a city that never sleeps, secrets don't stay hidden for long. Just when everything seemed perfect, Meher began pulling away. She started missing their tea stall evenings. Her calls became shorter, her laughter quieter. Ayan noted, of course, every lyric he wrote turned darker. But he didn't know how to ask what was wrong, and she didn't know how to tell him. Something was breaking between them, slowly, painfully, like a thread unraveling stitch by stitch. One night, after a long silence, Meher left a note inside Ayan's guitar case. No explanation, no goodbye, just one line: Tere bin Jeena kaya ... Hey, what is life without you? And just like that, she was gone. Where did Meher go? Why did she leave without a word? What secret was she hiding behind that soft smile and quiet gaze? And can Ayan find her again before the music inside him fades for good? This is not just a story of love. It's a story of the spaces between words, the silence in songs, and the heartbreak that makes us human. Stay with us as we dive deeper into a love that didn't ask for promises but left behind questions that only the heart can answer. Because sometimes a broken bar loving someone isn't the hardest part. Letting go is. Ayan stared at the note in his hand for what felt like hours. The world around him blurred, the honking outside his window, the unfinished song on his desk, even the gentle hum of the fan above. All he could see were those 5 words. Tere bin Jeena kaya. Broken bar. There was no name, no date, no explanation. Just the emptiness of her absence echoing louder than anything else. For days, he retraced every step they had walked together. He returned to their tea stall, sat on their usual bench at Marine Drive, even went to the bookstore where she liked to browse through art journals. But Meher was nowhere. The shopkeeper at the bookstore told him she hadn't come in weeks. Her phone was switched off. Her social media hadn't been updated in days. It was like she had quietly erased herself from everything. As the city moved on, Ayan remained stuck, haunted by memories that refused to fade. Every song he played reminded him of her laughter. Every quiet evening reminded him of the moments they didn't need to speak to understand each other. But now, he was left with questions that played on loop in his head. What had he missed? Was there something she wanted to tell him but couldn't? Had she been pretending to be okay all along? He started visiting her college campus, hoping to bump into someone who knew something. That's when he met Raya, Meher's classmate, and maybe the only person who sensed how close Ayan and Meher had become. Rhea seemed hesitant at first, like she was weighing how much to reveal. But when Ayan told her about the note, about Meher disappearing without a word, something shifted in her eyes. She used to talk about you, Rhea finally said, her voice low. Not often a broken bar, but when she did, it was always with a kind of fear, like she was afraid of how much she cared. Ayan's chest tightened. Did she ever hear a broken bar say anything? Something was wrong, wasn't it? Rhea nodded slowly, there were things she was dealing with. Things even I didn't fully understand. Family pressure. Something from her past maybe. But she never said it clearly. Only that a broken bar if she stayed, someone might get hurt. And I don't think she meant herself. That sentence left Ian frozen. What was Mayha protecting him from? Why would she rather vanish than tell him the truth? And most of all, a broken bar, where did she go? He did. Ian couldn't sleep. Nights became longer, and music didn't bring peace anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Mero, her quiet smile, her eyes hiding something she never said out loud. The thought kept clawing at him. What if he had just asked her the right question that day? What if he had looked beyond her silence? He started digging through every piece of her he had left. Sketches she had given him, voicemails, little notes in the margins of her drawings. One caught his attention, an unfinished sketch of two hands trying to hold each other, but something was pulling them apart. On the back, barely visible in pencil, she had written, "Some stories aren't meant to be told out loud." Ian's search took him to her old neighborhood in Bandra, where her aunt lived. When he introduced himself, the woman hesitated before letting him in. The house was quiet, filled with old photographs and untouched memories. Her aunt mentioned that Mayha had stayed there briefly before disappearing again. She hadn't said much, only that she needed space, a broken bar, and that she couldn't involve Ian. That word again, involve, as if Mayha had been running from something, not just leaving. Meanwhile, Ian started receiving anonymous messages. No sender, no name, just small texts like "Stop looking" and "Some truths aren't yours to uncover." At first, he thought it was a prank. But when one message mentioned something only Mayha could have known about, a song he once played just for her, he knew this was connected. Someone didn't want him digging into her past. But why? What was so dangerous, so heavy, that Mayha had to walk away from the only person who truly loved her? And more importantly, a broken bar. Who else was watching? Ian's world was closing in. The messages weren't just texts anymore. Someone had followed him after his last open mic gig. A man in a grey hoodie, watching from a distance, vanishing into the crowd every time Ian turned. He wasn't just imagining things. Mayha's disappearance wasn't random, and now, he was certain someone was making sure he never found her. Desperate and running out of leads, Ian returned to Ria. At first, she hesitated to speak, afraid of getting involved again. But when Ian showed her one of the messages, her expression changed. She looked scared. "I think you need to stop," she whispered. "There are people broken bar May who didn't leave because of you. She left to protect you." The words hit Ian like cold water. All this time, he thought she didn't trust him enough to stay. But what if it was the opposite? What if she loved him so much she chose to vanish rather than drag him into something dangerous? That night, Ian went back to their tea stall, hoping for some kind of sign. The stall owner, an old man who barely spoke, handed him a folded paper when he saw him. "She left this the last time she came," he said quietly. Ian's hands trembled as he opened it. It was a sketch of him, sitting right there at that stall, head down, guitar on his back. And beneath it, just one line, "I'll come back when it's safe for you." But safe from what? And why was he still being watched? As rain started to fall and the streets emptied, Ian sat in silence, heart pounding. He was closer than ever, but the next step might uncover something he wasn't ready for. And he wasn't sure if love would be enough to survive it. The rain didn't stop that night. It poured like the sky was trying to hide something. Ian sat there long after the tea stall shut down, clutching a Mayha's sketch, reading the line over and over. "I'll come back when it's safe for you." He didn't know what she meant, but he could feel something shifting. Every step he took now felt like it was pulling him into a truth that had been buried on purpose. The next morning, Ian woke up to his apartment door slightly open. Nothing was missing, but someone had definitely been inside. On his desk, the page from Mayha's sketchbook, the one with the two hands drifting apart, had been ripped clean down the middle. He stared at it, chills crawling down his back. This wasn't just a warning, it was a message. Someone wanted to scare him into stopping, and they were getting bolder. He tried to contact Mayha's aunt again, but the number was unreachable. When he returned to her house, the windows were shut, the curtains drawn, and it looked like no one had lived there for weeks. It didn't make sense. Just days ago, he was there, speaking to her face to face. Had she also disappeared? Or had someone made her? That night, Rhea called him, her voice trembling. Ian, I shouldn't be saying these are broken bar, but Mayha's father used to work in a government department. Something shady. I don't know the details, but Mayha found something, some documents, emails. She wasn't supposed to, and after that, things changed. She said she couldn't trust anyone, not even her own family. That's when she started planning to leave. A chill ran down Ian's spine. All this time, he thought this was about love, heartbreak, or some old trauma. But now it sounded like Mayha had uncovered something dangerous, or something that powerful people didn't want exposed. Was that why she disappeared? And was Ian now caught in the middle of something way bigger than either of them? Before Rhea could say more, the line went dead, and within seconds, Ian's phone lit up with a new message. Stop digging, or you'll never see her again. He stared at the screen, heart racing, realizing the truth that this wasn't just about love anymore. This was a fight for Mayha's life, and maybe his own. Ian had no more time to think. That final message, here, stop digging, or you'll never see her again. A was the last warning. He knew it now. This was more than heartbreak, more than a love story gone wrong. It was a trap wrapped in silence. But if Mayha had risked everything to keep him safe, he couldn't just walk away. Not now. With what little help Rhea could give, Ian traced the documents Mayha had supposedly found. An old email trail led him to an abandoned office complex on the outskirts of the city, once a part of a private firm working under a shady government contract. It had been shut down quietly years ago, but some files remained hidden in cloud backups. Ian accessed one through a cracked login Mayha had scribbled in her sketchbook, hidden in the sketches border like a secret message only he would recognize. The files were heavier data leaks, forged reports, bribes. It was clear Mayha had found them by accident while working on a college project that involved mapping public infrastructure. And once she knew, she ran. Not out of fear, but out of love for Ian, for her future, for anyone who might be used against her. Just as he began downloading the files, Ian heard footsteps. He turned. The man in the grey hoodie stood at the door, this time not backing away. But before anything could happen, flashing lights filled the room. Rhea had tipped off a journalist she trusted, and they arrived with the police here just in time. The man was caught, and the files secured. The truth couldn't be buried anymore. But Mira, where was she? A few days later, Ian received an email. No sender, just a location. He followed it to a quiet cottage in the hills of Lonavala, and there she was. Mayha, standing by the edge of a cliff, wind in her hair, eyes tired but still holding the warmth he remembered. They didn't speak at first, just held each other. No questions, no apologies, just the silence of two people who had survived what tried to break them. But just as they sat down, watching the sun dip behind the hills, Mayha turned to him and whispered, "There's something I never told you." Ian looked at her, confused. She pulled out a small folded note. It wasn't just the files, someone close to you was involved. Ian stared at the note in Mayha's hands, his heartbeat suddenly louder than the quiet around them. "Someone close to you was involved," she said, and her voice held the weight of everything they had been through. He slowly unfolded the paper, and his eyes widened as he saw the name written there. Ravi, his own cousin, the one who'd helped him book music gigs, the one who knew about Mayha from the beginning, the one who had access to Ian's flat when the sketch was torn. Mayha explained it all, her voice calm but steady. Ravi had been working with the firm Mayha had exposed. He wasn't directly part of the scam, but he was the one leaking internal information for money. When Mayha found out, she never imagined it would circle back to Ian. That's when she vanished. She feared Ravi might use Ian to get to her, or worse. She had tried to keep him safe by stepping away from everything they built together. "I didn't want you hurt because of me," she said, her eyes filled with quiet pain. Ian didn't speak for a long time. The betrayal stung, but strangely, it also brought closure. Everything made sense now. The watching eyes, the messages, the silence. It wasn't just about buried files or corrupt officials, so it was about trust, and how sometimes, the people closest to you hold the darkest secrets. Later, they sat by the fire inside the cottage. Ian finally picked up his guitar, and for the first time in months, the music flowed like it used to. Mayha listened, her head resting on his shoulder, and they didn't talk about the past anymore. There was nothing more to run from. The truth had come out, the files had been submitted to the press, and the story was already starting to make noise in the news. Justice, finally, was on its way. Their love didn't need grand promises anymore. It had already been tested in ways most stories never are. And still, here they were. As the night settled around them, Mayhu smiled and whispered, "Tia bin Jeena Kai." Broken Bare Iron held her hand tighter and replied, "Abdosath Hi Jeena Hi." Because love like theirs, the kind that survives storms, silence, and secrets, doesn't end. It just begins again stronger,